figured since I got some time on my hands here, I was going to go ahead and continue speaking on the ways of Jesus Christ, the commandments of Jesus Christ, and what he taught about how we should live our lives and how we should view authority. So I figured I would speak a little bit, give some readings and some explanations. The King James Version, important. The King James Version of the Bible, on what it speaks about authority and its different applications. Okay. Some of these things that I'm going to go into are not popular or modern. Okay. I haven't seen or heard anyone that has come along since the time of Jesus Christ and the apostles that would be any greater than they are to come up with some sort of theory as to why we should not be subject to their authority. Okay? And it's just a natural part of me, and I would suppose just about anybody else, that we don't like being told what to do or how to do it. And I am one of the worst at that. Okay? But I'm going to show you what the Bible, the New Testament, speaks on these things and as they relate in different areas. Okay, so I've got a basic outline of some scriptures, but I'm just going to kind of speak comfortably here. I'm not going to be very popular, most likely. So I'm going to start out with Romans chapter 13. Romans chapter 13. And then we'll probably go ahead, since I've already done the first part of Ephesians on the way. It's a video on this Facebook webpage called The Way. That's when I first got into the first part of Ephesians. And so I'll probably just continue with Ephesians chapter 6 as well. So Romans chapter 13 and Ephesians chapter 6 are going to be the main basis of what we're going to get into. And then, as always, I kind of go to other scriptures to give assurance of things. Okay? So Romans chapter 13 says, a point that I always like to try to make here on every video, and this is super important, especially when it comes to this one, is that these commandments and these things that are written in the New Testament on how the Christian ought to walk are for Christians. Okay? They're not for the world. Even though they might be profitable for the world, and if the world wants to adopt these things and make them laws, well, then that's their business. But it is not for the Christian to impose these things on the world. Okay, it says in the book of Timothy, it says, no man that wars spiritually entangles himself with the affairs of this life. Okay? Anyway, Romans chapter 13 says, let every soul be subject unto higher powers, authority, governments. For there is no power but of God. The powers that be are ordained of God. So this applies to America, Russia, China, applies to any government that you are born into or under. We are to be subject to those authorities and to those laws that they come up with. And it doesn't matter what president it is. If it's Obama, then we're supposed to honor Obama and do the things that Obama says. If it's Trump, then we're supposed to honor Trump and do the things that Trump says. Okay? So it says, whosoever therefore resists the power, resists the ordinance of God. And they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation. For rulers are not a terror unto good works, but to the evil. Okay, so obviously he's speaking in general here. There are times which he himself also displayed that authority tells people to do something wrong, outright sin. You know, if authority told me to go out and commit fornication with this girl, and if I didn't, I was going to go to jail, well, then I would have to defy authority, because that is against Christ. That is against what Christ taught me to do. Or if authority told me to go out and kill this person, then that is against Christ. That is against what Christ taught me. And so I would not do that. And that's just a given. You know, he's speaking in general here. That if authority tells you to obey the speed limit, if authority tells you, you know, that you have to pay taxes, then you need to pay taxes and you need to obey the speed limit. Okay? 1 Peter, another apostle, says, obey every ordinance of man. Every single ordinance of man for the Lord's sake. Okay? For rulers are not a terror unto good works, but to the evil. Wilt thou not be afraid of the power? Do that which is good, and thou shalt have praise of the same. For he is the minister of God to thee for good. This is what really helped me come out of my rebellion toward authority. And if you read my life history, which is on DarylGilbertMinistry.com, I was very, very, very radical, very, very hateful, and I hated the law with a passion, and expressed it and did things, if you've read that, according to my hatred for them. But when I learned here that they are ordained of God to be in the position that they are in, so it's not so much them that I'm subject to, but Christ. Because Christ ordained them and set them as a minister of God to me for good. Okay, so it says in 13:4, for he is the minister of God to thee for good. But if thou do that which is evil, be afraid, for he is the minister of God, a revenger to execute wrath upon him that does evil. So he is ordained by God to execute wrath on those that do evil, those that would steal from me, those that would hurt me, or to try to do bad things to other people. God has appointed them as a servant to execute judgment on them for me. That's why I pay taxes. Wherefore you must needs be subject, not only for wrath, but also for the conscience of others. For this cause pay ye taxes, for they are God's ministers, attending continually upon this very thing. Render therefore to all their dues, tax to whom tax is due, Custom to whom custom is due. Fear to whom fear. Honor to whom honor. Owe no man anything but to love one another. Okay, so here's a point that he gets into that we're fixing to get into with the other scriptures. We are free from them. We do not have to obey them, but we are free from them so that our obedience to them is profitable to us spiritually and eternally in Christ's kingdom. Okay? So everything that we pay, because we don't owe them, everything that we give to them is rewarded by God to us in eternal rewards, because we don't owe them anything. Okay, he's gonna get into that in more detail here in the other books, but also he says, "Owe no man anything," so that we will pay what they tell us to pay. It is not up to us as a Christian to dictate what that is, but we are to accept whatever authority is in authority. It's not up to the Christian to dictate how much that is, but it is up to the Christian to do whatever that authority says. So we are not to be involved in lawmaking, but are to obey the laws that come down upon us, unless that law is directly in contradiction to our Christian faith. So if they told us that we can't worship Christ or speak about the Christian faith, then obviously our first commitment is to be a Christian. But we should not fight them on a legal level, because God has ordained them to be and to do that, to resist the Christian faith. Why? Like if I was under communism and they told me, you can't speak about Christ, I would speak about Christ. And that's what I would do. And I would probably go to jail. And I would probably suffer persecution. But God has ordained that government to be the way that it is, so that spiritually I would profit in heaven in eternal rewards forever. Because if I suffer for Christ, then I am highly rewarded in heaven. So it's not for me to dictate what government should be, but I'm to be subject to that government in one form or another, unless they tell me to do something against them directly. Okay? So I shouldn't go and tell other people that are not Christian what they can and can't do. It is not for the Christian to tell people who are not Christian what they can and can't do. A Muslim coming over here and telling me, if I was a woman, that I had to wear a burqa, and I wasn't Muslim, I would not like that. So in the same way, a Christian, one of the things that got me when I was not a Christian was I didn't understand why I couldn't buy beer on Sunday. Who are you to tell me I can't buy beer on Sunday? How's that any different than a Muslim coming over here telling me I have to wear a burqa, or that I can't do something on Tuesday? You know, it's just, I'm not a believer, you know? I mean, so it's something that is not the place of a Christian. A Christian law is for the Christian. But if the government tells me that I have to wear a burqa, or that I have to, or that I can't buy beer on Sunday, then as a Christian, because they are in authority over me, I must obey that. Because it's not against Christ. I don't know about the burqa thing as a man, but you know, you get the point. So, anyway, so that's what I wanted to start out with when it comes to government. And one of the main points that I wanted to make was that the reason that we are obedient to the government is not because I respect them, okay, or honor them, but I honor Christ and I respect Christ. And so for that reason, I honor them and I respect them. Even those that I don't agree with. Okay? So Christians should stay out of politics and just do what they're told. And it is not for me to tell the government my opinion. Okay? I mean, I have them, but a lot of times they're wrong, you know, but I don't tell them that they're wrong, that their speed limit's wrong. You know, I, as a Christian, should obey that speed limit because they said that I should. And that's self-denial, trust me, when it comes to me especially. Because, I mean, I'm known for giving as a non-Christian, for telling people exactly what I think. And it's hard for me to be an employee for that reason. You know, like somebody telling me I can't have a beard, or how long my hair should be, or when exactly I should be at work, and what I can say to somebody, you know, or how I'm supposed to act. My natural self is one of the worst about that. You know exactly what I think, but as a Christian, I can't do that. I have to shut my mouth. I have to live quietly, and in all humility, and deny myself. Because I honor Christ and because He has set those people in authority over me. That Jesus Christ, God the Father, has ordained authority. Okay? And out of respect for Him, not out of respect for them, I must obey them. And it is not for me to give my opinion or to talk back to them. Whether it be an employee or any government, whether it be communist, whether it be Republican, whether it be Democrat, whatever the government is. Because these things are written for people in China too. So anyway, let's turn to Ephesians chapter 6. Okay? Ephesians chapter 6, because this is where I left off in the first video. Actually, it's Ephesians chapter 5, verse 22, because I left off in 21. So Ephesians chapter 5, verse 22 goes into wives. Okay, so it says, wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands, as unto the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, and he is the Savior of the body. Therefore, as the church is subject unto Christ, so let the wives be subject unto their own husbands in everything. And it's going to go into more detail about exactly what it means to be subject to authority in whatever application it is. And it's a lot more strict than what today's society has become accustomed to. Okay? And it says, husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it. So ought men to love their wives as their own bodies. He that loves his wife loves himself. For no man ever yet hated his own flesh. Alright, so here's a point that men ought to consider when it comes to their wives, or a point that government of any sort, whether it be you as an employee towards your employer, you as an employer towards your employee, or a wife or a husband toward a wife, is that God, Jesus Christ taught repeatedly that what you do to others that are in subjection to you, or supposed to be, Christ will do the same to you. He says, with the same measure you meet with, it shall be measured to you again.